Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. What if I told you the most powerful sign she's emotionally addicted to you is the one you can't hear? It's not what she says, it's what she hides. And once you see it, you'll never look at her the same way again. Before we go deeper, take a second to like the video and subscribe, because what you're about to understand isn't just dating advice, it's awareness most men never develop. Listen carefully. When a woman becomes emotionally attached on a deep level, she doesn't always express it loudly. In fact, the stronger the feeling, the quieter it often becomes. Because emotional addiction isn't built on words, it's built on psychological dependency. And dependency creates tension inside her that she doesn't fully understand herself. You'll notice something subtle first. She starts observing you more than she speaks. Not in an obvious way, not staring constantly, but she studies your reactions, your tone, your mood shifts, almost like she's trying to map your emotional world. Why? Because when she's emotionally invested, your internal state becomes important to her sense of security. And here's the part most men miss. She begins adjusting herself, without announcing it. Her timing changes, her responses shift. She might wait longer to reply, not because she's losing interest, but because she's thinking about how you'll perceive her. She's no longer acting freely, she's acting carefully. That's not distance, that's emotional calculation. And it comes from one place. She values your perception more than she's willing to admit. You might even feel confused at this stage. One day she's warm, the next she's slightly withdrawn. But that inconsistency isn't random, it's internal conflict. A part of her is drawn toward you, while another part is trying to protect her emotional control. Because when a woman feels herself slipping into emotional dependence, she becomes cautious. She doesn't want to appear too invested, but she can't detach either. So she hovers in that quiet tension, and if you're paying attention, you'll feel it. A shift in energy, a subtle pull, a presence that lingers even when she says very little. That silence, it's not emptiness, it's attachment, growing underneath the surface. There's a moment, and if you're aware enough, you'll catch it. Not in her words, but in her reactions. When a woman becomes emotionally addicted to you, her emotional responses start betraying her control. She might try to appear composed, even detached at times, but her reactions? They become sharper, quicker, and more revealing than she intends. You'll notice how small things begin to matter more to her. A delayed reply from you, and suddenly her energy shifts. She won't always confront you directly. Instead, it shows up indirectly. A slightly colder tone, a subtle change in how she engages. Not dramatic, but enough for you to feel that something is off. This is where most men make a mistake. They assume she's losing interest, but in reality, she's reacting because she's emotionally invested. Your absence, even briefly, creates uncertainty inside her. And uncertainty is uncomfortable for someone who's starting to rely on you emotionally. Here's the deeper layer. She begins to read into everything you do. Your jokes, your silence, your choice of words, nothing is neutral anymore. Even your casual behavior starts carrying weight in her mind. She analyzes it, not because she wants to overthink, but because she's trying to understand where she stands with you. And when she can't figure it out, she feels unsettled. That unsettled feeling is a quiet form of attachment. Because the truth is, indifference doesn't analyze. Indifference doesn't react. Indifference doesn't care enough to question meaning. But she does. And yet, she won't always admit it. Instead, she might mask it with playfulness, or even slight teasing. Sometimes she'll challenge you more than before, not to push you away, but to see how stable you are. To test if your attention is consistent or conditional. Because once emotional addiction begins, consistency becomes everything to her. And here's what makes this powerful. She starts remembering the smallest details about you. Things you said casually, moments you didn't think mattered. She stores them, quietly, not to impress you, but because her mind is prioritizing you without her permission. This isn't surface-level attraction anymore. This is her mind reorganizing itself around your presence. And the more she tries to hide it, the more it leaks through in these subtle emotional reactions. You just have to know where to look. Because what seems like confusion on the surface is actually attachment taking root underneath. Here's the thing most men never realize. Emotional addiction doesn't scream, it whispers. In pauses, in hesitation, in the tiny ways she interacts with you that feel almost instinctual. It's the micro-actions she can't control, the ones that slip past her careful facade. And once you recognize them, you'll see how deeply she's invested. Pay attention to the way she mirrors you, without knowing she's doing it. The gestures you make, the tone you use, the words that carry meaning. She starts reflecting them back, subtly, as if syncing her emotional rhythm to yours. It's subconscious. She isn't manipulating you. She's responding to a bond she can't fully explain. Your moods become cues for her own. If you're tense, she tenses. If you smile, a part of her lights up even before she realizes why. You'll also notice a kind of hyper-awareness in her presence. She remembers the things you thought you'd said casually. That offhand comment about your favorite movie, the story you told about your childhood. She files it away and brings it up later, not to show off her memory, but because it matters to her how you experience the world. Every detail of you becomes significant. Your quirks, your fears, even your silences are now a quiet obsession in her mind. And this is where most men misread it. They think she's overthinking or being insecure. But emotional addiction isn't about doubt, it's about attachment. She's invested in you so deeply that your life starts to influence her inner stability. She wants to feel connected, validated, and acknowledged, but she doesn't always know how to express it without vulnerability. So she leaks it in subtle ways. A lingering glance, a shift in body language when you walk into a room, a quiet attentiveness even in casual conversation. Then there's the pull of her emotional availability. She isn't giving everything at once. In fact, she might hold back, testing the waters, seeing how you respond. That's not coldness, that's fear of losing herself in dependence. She's addicted, but she's trying to protect her independence. The tension is palpable, and it's magnetic. You feel it because it resonates with the unspoken bond forming between you, whether you admit it or not. The truth is, when a woman is emotionally addicted, even silence becomes loaded with meaning. Every pause, every hesitation, every unspoken thought is a window into how her mind is entwined with yours. And once you begin to notice these subtle signs, you'll understand just how profound this attachment really is, how deeply you've become the center of her inner world. Now listen carefully, because this is where most men completely miss the pattern. Emotional addiction doesn't always look like devotion. It often looks like inconsistency. One moment she's fully present, warm, laughing at your jokes. The next, she's distant, guarded, almost unreadable. You might feel frustrated or confused, wondering why she's hot and cold. But this is the key. That inconsistency is a sign of attachment, not disinterest. Why? Because she's battling two conflicting drives. On one hand, she's drawn to you in a way that bypasses logic, a magnetic pull she cannot deny. On the other, she's terrified of losing herself, of appearing too vulnerable. That internal push and pull manifests as subtle tension. She might test you, through silence, through teasing, through slight disagreements, not to manipulate, but to gauge the stability of your attention and emotional availability. How you respond in these moments becomes the anchor for her. You'll start noticing small, almost imperceptible signs of vigilance. She asks questions indirectly. She notices patterns in your behavior. She gauges your mood before deciding how much to reveal of her own. And sometimes, she even withholds emotions not out of disinterest, but because revealing them makes her feel exposed. That's emotional addiction in action. It doesn't shout, it quietly scrutinizes and measures. Then there's the way she invests in your happiness, sometimes without being asked. She remembers what makes you comfortable, what makes you laugh, what eases your stress. She doesn't necessarily vocalize it, she doesn't announce her attentiveness, but the small, thoughtful gestures begin to accumulate. They're like breadcrumbs leading you straight to the truth of her attachment. Here's the subtle truth most men miss. Her emotional addiction creates an invisible bond that grows strongest in silence. The moments she isn't texting, the times she's holding back, the subtle glances she can't disguise. These are the threads weaving her dependency on you. And if you ignore them, you miss the reality entirely. Because the most powerful signal of emotional addiction isn't words, it's presence. Not in obvious ways, but in the quiet energy she radiates, the way she orients her mind and heart around you even when she seems detached. That's when you understand. She's not just interested, she's quietly, completely entwined. This is why understanding her silent behavior is more important than hearing her say, "I like you," 1,000 times. The truth is in the subtlety, in the emotional gravity she can't hide, in the invisible threads pulling her closer to you every day. Here's the part that most men never notice, and it's what separates fleeting attraction from true emotional dependency. When a woman is emotionally addicted to you, she begins prioritizing your presence over almost everything else in subtle ways. Not in a dramatic, showy way, but in micro-adjustments to her day, her mood, even her plans. She will unconsciously shift her energy toward moments that involve you, even if she tries to act casual about it. You'll see it in the smallest details. She might change her schedule just to catch a conversation with you, even briefly. She remembers the tiniest things you like or dislike. And when she notices a shift in your attention, she feels it physically, emotionally. Her body reacts before her mind even processes why. That's not obsession in the superficial sense. It's attachment forming at a deep psychological level. She may also show signs of subtle anxiety when you're not around. You won't always hear it in her voice, but her energy becomes slightly restless. She might check in or send a small, seemingly innocent message, not out of neediness, but because uncertainty triggers an internal craving for reassurance. Emotional addiction isn't about controlling you. It's about the brain craving your presence because it's wired into her emotional stability. Then there's the hidden loyalty that emerges. She defends your character in ways you might not even see. She stands by the image of you she's constructed in her mind, silently advocating for your value in her world. And she does it because she's emotionally invested, often before she even admits it to herself. That quiet advocacy, that instinctive protection of your importance, it's one of the strongest indicators of emotional dependency. You'll also notice how she reacts when you're upset, distant, or irritated. Most women step back or detach, but she doesn't. Even when you push away, even when you're cold or unavailable, a part of her lingers. She analyzes your behavior, absorbs the tension, and recalibrates her approach. Not because she's trying to manipulate, but because your state now affects her emotional equilibrium. And finally, pay attention to how she celebrates your attention. When she receives it, it's not casual enjoyment, it's relief, even a little thrill. Your approval, your presence, your acknowledgement feeds her in ways she can't verbalize. Emotional addiction is quiet, nuanced, and often invisible. But when you see these patterns, you know exactly how deeply she's intertwined with you. It's not just affection, it's attachment. And attachment, once formed, changes everything. Now, the most powerful sign, the one that confirms she's truly emotionally addicted, is how she behaves when you're absent. Not absent in a dramatic sense, but in the normal ebb and flow of life. When she doesn't hear from you, doesn't see you, even for a few hours, she doesn't simply move on. She notices. Her mind drifts to you, her emotions register the gap. And this is where emotional addiction shows itself most clearly. You might not hear from her, but her thoughts are with you. She revisits moments you shared, replays conversations, analyzes your reactions. Every interaction becomes data she files away unconsciously, shaping how she responds next. It's a silent internal feedback loop. She's learning, adjusting, even craving your presence without admitting it. That craving is invisible but powerful, and it subtly dictates her behavior without her realizing it. And here's what men often misread. When she acts distant or slightly aloof during this absence, it's not disinterest, it's emotional self-regulation. She's trying to maintain composure while her mind pulls her toward you. She can't be openly needy because she fears vulnerability, but inside she's fixated on the connection. Her restraint is a mask, not a lack of attachment. You'll also notice how she reacts when you return. That small shift in her demeanor, warmth, lightness, attentiveness, intensifies in a way that feels natural but deliberate. She's emotionally balancing herself, restoring equilibrium. Her joy, her subtle relief, her lingering attention, they're all proof that your presence has become a source of emotional stability for her. And when you pay close attention, you'll realize these patterns repeat consistently. Even her subtle expressions, glances, small smiles, fleeting touches, carry a deeper weight now. They're not casual, they're signals of attachment. She's tethered emotionally, sometimes silently, but irrevocably. The moments she seems most independent, or even playful in testing you, are actually her mind negotiating this deep bond. The reality most men never see is this. Emotional addiction isn't loud. It's quiet, persistent, and invisible to anyone who isn't paying attention. But for those who notice the subtle pull, the shifts in energy, the small signs of attachment, the truth becomes undeniable. She's not just interested, she's dependent on you emotionally. And once you recognize it, you'll understand the invisible gravity that binds her to you, a force more compelling than words, actions, or promises. Because emotional addiction is quiet, subtle, and profoundly real. And now that you know how to see it, nothing about her behavior will ever feel random again.